I meant that for a fun song. You need to hear Chuck Pyle do it. Because he's this very stern old cowboy, right? And he's usually on, was a real tall drink of water. And usually, monochromatic, usually gray. And so there's a song about color and choice, and it's creativity. So anyway, thank you for being here today. Thank you for choosing to participate in this center. Thank you for being part of this community. And today we continue our look at curiosity as a superpower. And curiosity is the way we get to this creative imagination and this thing about being open to possibilities. Because if we're not curious, what do you got? Same old, same old, same old, right? Well, I'm comfortable here. Please don't make any waves. Okay. So is that the space you want to live in? When Sharon was reading the spiritual thought and the affirmation, I have a thing in my Band-Aid. That's weird. When Sharon was reading the spiritual thought and the affirmation, and she read, I express my divine calling right here and right now, I tried to imagine the feeling in the room. It's like, is that a comfortable thought for people? I express my divine calling right here and right now. Does it make anybody spin out? A little bit, maybe? Because really it's about how comfortable are we in our lives and how willing are we to explore a different possibility, a different reality, a different way of being in the world. And our tool, our primary tool to do that, is this thing called curiosity. So I borrowed today's talk title, Inquiring Minds, ... from the tagline of National Enquirer, a magazine I have never actually picked up and held in my hand. But I have stared at it in the line in the grocery store, and you probably have too, right? This thing has been in print for 100 years. Almost, not quite. Almost 100 years. And why? Inquiring minds do want to know. But what do they want to know? Is it simply entertainment? Or is it they actually want to know something that adds value to their lives? And that's a place that we get to decide. Do I just want to be entertained, but I don't really want to be changed? Or do I actually want to have an experience that changes me? And we get to choose, right? We're always in that place. And I, like everybody else, do enjoy being entertained now and then. And yet that's not the thing that lights me up. Entertainment's great. I mean, but the thing that lights my imagination isn't simply entertainment. So from today's spiritual thought that Sharon read just a few minutes ago, from Practical Applications of the Science of Mind, page 49, if you happen to have the book, there is an irresistible, universal, and divine urge within us to be happy, whole, and to express the fullness of life. The divinity within us stirs our imagination and impels our growth. It is back of every invention. It proclaims itself through every creative endeavor. So what is your tolerance for something different? What is your tolerance for a different reality where you may not have the same old, same old, same old life? That's a scary question. Because if it's different than normal, then I may not know what to do. I may actually have to be on the fly or something. And so we each get to ask that question and answer that question for ourselves. And this morning, when I woke up and I opened my email, because that's what we do, I happened to see a little blurb by marketing guy Seth Godin. And he was talking about Ben Zander, who's the conductor for the Boston Philharmonic. And your brain may go, I've heard that name before. Why do I know that name? Well, a bunch of years ago, we looked at a book that he and his wife wrote together called The Art of Possibility. Yeah, that's how come I know it. And if it's still on your bookshelf, find it. Look at it again. Because what he's done in this book, what he and his wife did in this book, was they reminded each one of us that we actually can live in that space of possibility, of choosing, of deciding, of picking something different than normal. And we can be in that space and we can choose a bigger reality. It's a gift that's already been given to us, but we have to pick it up. We have to take it, we have to put it on, we have to wrap our minds around it. And we've got to be a little curious in order to, be willing to try it. So, and all y'all are entering a space of creative possibility when a different person is standing up here in 3 weeks and for the next period of time after that. Because you're envisioning, you're imagining, you're creating the space for the possibility of what your center, what this center is going to be like. And until you imagine somebody different than me standing here, it can't happen. And it doesn't mean I'm going to be standing here. Sorry, that's not an option. Because it's time for me to do something else. And so it's time for all y'all to imagine a bigger possibility, something different, something expansive. I wanted to use the word explosive, but that has such bad connotations. Something that is that essence of CSLT as it lives in potential. And it's here. And you can let it out. I'm stepping aside to let it happen. Because it's available and it's right there. And it wants to come. And y'all have to say, hey, come here. So Friday night, a friend and I got to go see a house concert with Freebo and Alice Howe. And Freebo was in town because he was staying with a woman who was his camp counselor 40-odd years ago. Summer camp, right? Summer camp. He was the waiter or the dishwasher or something, and she was a counselor. And because it's summer camp, you do stuff, right? And she taught him the first guitar chords he ever knew because he was a tuba player. And she taught him guitar chords. And that became his life. And so now he's mentoring the next generation with this young woman, Alice Howe. And so we got to hang out and hear them do a couple sets and see what this path of music had become for the two of them. And she also told the same story some years later, because like I said, she's the next generation, where a counselor taught her first song. So we never know where those sparks of creativity and imagination are going to come from. But both of them were following that divine urge, that divine purpose that made them happy, whole, and able to express the fullness of life. So yesterday morning in daily morning practice, we read the daily reading from Dr. Raymond Anderson, who wrote this month's in the daily readings in this month's magazine, and it's about curiosity as a superpower. Dr. Raymond is a very fine speaker, and he has been known to wear a Superman t-shirt to prove a point. Every single one of us has access to superpowers, but we actually have to own them. We have to put them on. We have to embody them, because otherwise it's just a shirt hanging in the closet. So what superpower do you have? And where does it come from? Dr. Raymond was happy to answer the question. The primary superpower is the one that Dr. Holmes spoke of when he said and wrote, "There is a power for good in the universe greater than you are, greater than I am, greater than any of us are. A power for good that we can use in everyday life for everything." He's paraphrasing. But he continued, "The superpower is accessed and used in a great many ways. One of them is our topic for this month, curiosity. Curiosity is a superpower because it is the very thing that sparks our desire to change, to live a healthier, happier, and more satisfying life. This is the part that's sticky. Curiosity pulls back the veil of dogmatic, programmed, conditioned thinking and beliefs taught us that we are sinners, not good enough, and not worthy of being loved. In peeling back the veil, curiosity grants us access to the truth. It grants us access to a path and a practice that yields amazing results. It reveals that infinite goodness itself, which is God, and it reveals to us that we are the individualized expressions of that goodness. So of course we have access to it. We are the living, breathing incarnations of it. We are infinite goodness as ourselves. We have to take the veils off and let that out. So think about it. Do you feel like it? Do you feel like you are the presence of God as you? Do you feel less than that? Do you feel smaller than that? Do you feel like the turtle in his shell? Are you shining? There is a cultural model, collective subconscious, that Dr. Raymond wrote about that says we are not allowed to think of ourselves as good enough, and that we have to earn the right to do and be and have and express. And even we have to earn the right to be spiritual and to have this experience of transcendence. Because as poor, pitiful humans, we can't have that. It's not ours to have. And that's garbage thinking. That's not the word I was going to use, but this is recorded. So you know what I was going to say, right? That's garbage thinking. It's a false belief, and yet it's one that culturally, it's implanted. And we have to be able to remember that we are this expression of the divine as us, and act that way, and be that way in the world. So in The Science of Mind on page 383 and 384, Dr. Holmes wrote, "We need fear nothing in the universe. We need not be afraid of God. We may be certain that all will arrive at the final goal, that not one would be missing. Everyone is an incarnation of God. No soul can any more be lost than God can be lost. We believe in God and that it is good. What more can life demand of us than we do the best we can and try to improve?" Now, if Dr. Holmes was standing here, it would be weird, but if he was standing here, I would argue with him that point. because try to improve. I mean, there's nothing that says we have to try to improve. Why do we try to improve? What's our motivation for trying to improve? What is yours? Are you trying to achieve some goal that you don't think you're worthy of? It's a good puzzle, isn't it? What is the reason for trying to do better than you do already? Since we're already incarnations of the divine, we may try to improve to get a better handle on cause and effect. I mean, I did that, this happened. Well, maybe I don't want to do that anymore. That's not necessarily the definition of trying to improve, but it is learning. I'll give him that. Maybe that's what he meant. Because every single one of us is already that divine incarnation. There's no reason to improve. There are reasons to learn, though. Because we're in human form, having human experiences, going, what is that? Where did that come from? Did I like it? Do I want to do it again? Yes or no? And so it's not trying to improve to gain some divine being's permission. It's trying to learn for our own edification, for our own ability to be and see and do and become a greater version of ourselves. Holmes finishes that section. That was an aside, by the way. Holmes finishes that section by saying, this leaves us free to work out our own salvation, not in fear and trembling, but with peace and quiet confidence. So what is this thing, salvation, that Holmes is talking about? It's certainly not earning our way to heaven or believing that we won't get in if we don't straighten up and fly right. It's about figuring out what's ours to do. It's about figuring out how we want to show up in the world, how we want to present this divine presence that we are, how we want to explore and experience and express this essence, our essence. I saw a meme this week that claimed to be written by Rumi, but I don't actually believe it. But it was still, the words were good, so. And it sounds kind of sort of vaguely like stuff you would write. But it went this way. When I run after what I think I want, my days are a furnace of stress and anxiety. If I sit in my own place of patience, what I need flows to me without pain. From this, I understand that what I want wants me. It's looking for me and is attracting me. This is a great secret for anyone who can grasp it. So do you know what's yours to do? Are you sure? Can your idea of divine possibility as you be bigger than your present imagination? Are you curious? There's something that's actually generative about being able to hold what we think we are lightly. Otherwise, it's really hard to make room to become something different, something new, something bigger. Because if we're absolutely sure what we are, and it's less than what we can be, we're limiting ourselves. I imagine you remember this little story that comes out of the Zen teachings. It's about a fairly new Zen student that gets to go sit and have tea with the master, and he thinks this is just really cool, like it's a reward for him being a really good Zen student or something. And so he's comes and he sits and he's having tea with the master, and he's he wants to know stuff. And he wants to know the secrets. And the master sits and talks to him for a while. And he finally gets a couple teacups off the side table, and they're full of tea already. So he sets a full cup of tea down in front of the student. Then he sets another full cup of tea down in front of himself. Then he picks up the teapot. And he pours tea into the student's cup. And after the tea spills out all over the table, the student says, "What are you doing? The cup was full." The teacher says, "Until you're willing to let go of what you are certain of, there's no room to learn anything new." That's true for all of us, because it's that place of comfort, it's that place of certainty that gets in our way of stepping into a bigger possibility. And until we're willing to allow more of who we are to come out, we've built our own fences. We've put ourselves in a box. And it's way smaller than what's possible for us. There was a guy back in the early 1900s by the name of Ralph Waldo Trine. He wrote a book called In Tune with the Infinite. It was published in 1906. I couldn't find a link between Trine's writings and Holmes' readings, but I'm fairly sure he did read them because they sound a lot alike. Beginning on page 92, Trine wrote, "I know of no better practice than that of a friend who continually holds themselves in an attitude of mind that they continually send out their love in the form of this thought. Dear everybody, I love you." When we realize the fact that a thought invariably produces its effect before it returns or before it ceases, we can see how people who speak like that are continuously breathing out a blessing, not only on everyone with whom they come in contact, but on the whole world. The same thoughts of love, moreover, taken in various ways, are continuously coming back to them from all quarters. What a privilege and how enjoyable it would be to live and walk in a world where we meet only gods. In such a world you can live. In such a world I can live. For in the degree that we come into this higher realization, do we see only the divine in each other. And we can see everyone in the world we meet as gods. We live in that world. And when we recognize God in everyone, we by this recognition help call forth forever and evermore the same truth. What a privilege we have. When we see God, then that reflects back to us, cause and effect, right? We have the chance to create this bigger possibility where we live in a world of love and peace and joy and order and harmony and whatever great goodness wishes to be born. We have that. It's nothing special. It's nothing unique. It's not out of reach. We just have to be brave enough to take it. So I'm going to close with pieces of some lyrics by Janis Stanfield, the song, If I Were Brave. What would I do if I knew I couldn't fail? If I believed, would the wind always fill up my sails? How far would I go? What could I achieve? Trusting the hero in me. If I were brave, I'd walk the razor's edge, where true believers dare to tread. I'd never lose faith, even when losing my way. What step would I take today if I were brave? What if we're all meant to do what we secretly dream? What would you ask if you knew you could have anything? Like a mighty oak sleeps in the heart of a seed, are there miracles in you and me? What would I do today if I were brave? If I refused to listen to the voice of fear, would the voice of courage whisper in my ear? Maybe this is what I would hear. I am brave. What would you do today? Are you brave? Ponder that. It's given to you. The gift is given. Each one of us is already that divine expression, that incarnation of God, walking around in your meat suit. You get to be that. Be brave. Bless yourself and bless us all. Thank you. So if I've said anything useful to you, hold it in your imagination while I speak the words. I accept this life, this God-given opportunity to be present as one in the one. I know that same truth for all beings. Every individual has already been given life, life everlasting, life full of opportunity, life full of possibility, life full of endless expression of joy and freedom and peace and power and poise, life full of expansion, life full of whatever superpower they choose to claim. I know this gift as given already. I know there is not one who doesn't have access to it, because it is a gift. It can be ignored. It can be denied. And yet the gift waits for each one to pick it up, put it on, and move in the direction of dreams. And I recognize that as each one steps forward in this life of their choosing, that the whole world benefits. Each one benefits, and all life benefits. Life is for joy. Life is for goodness. Life is for expression and expansion and appreciation. So I stand in this place, this mindset of gratitude and appreciation, and I celebrate each one, all beings, as they step into life, as they embody more and more and more of their divine perfection, as they embrace this world of possibility. And I watch the world brighten, knowing it's not a chore, it's not a struggle, it's not a battle. It's simply acceptance. I accept this truth. I know it for myself and for all beings, and I let it be, and so it is.